Alright, welcome back to the WaxMode YouTube detailing channel, and in this video what I want to do is showcase the water behavior of the paint after I've used an abrasive polish like Meguiar's M205 to fully remove the wax or sealant from the paint. So this video is going to be my baseline water result for unprotected paint. But there's a concept that I want to highlight, and that's the difference in the water behavior after that first rinse once we've polished the paint off compared to the water behavior that we're going to notice after that first wash with the regular soap. And you can see I've got a couple other products out as well. I've got some glazes, some pre-wax cleansers, I've got the clay bar. And so this video is going to be the first in a series that's going to cover how the paint is impacted before we apply our waxes and sealants. So I went ahead and got the polishers out and paired that up with a black buff and shine finishing pad. And that's what I'm using with the Meguiar's M205 finishing polish. I'm trying to abrade the surface as lightly as possible to remove the least amount of clear coat. And compared to Meguiar's M205, Ultimate Polish is going to have less abrasives in there and more polishing oil. So this will still remove the wax or sealant from the paint. But now we've got to wonder whether or not we're fully removing those oils from the paint after we buff off the polish residue with a microfiber towel. So in my testing, this is where isopropyl alcohol comes into play. And I use about a 15% dilution of IPA mixed in with distilled water. And there's a ton of different prepping products that are basically oil removers. CarPro Eraser is one of them. A lot of guys don't like using regular isopropyl alcohol because it's not a very lubricated product. But it seems to get the job done. It seems to remove those oils. And the way I tell that is going over the paint with a microfiber towel. I'm looking for that shifting in the light source. Definitely check out my CarPro Reload video where I showcase those residual oils left behind on the paint. But for the water test here, what I've done is polished off the paint using Meguiar's M205. But on the left side fender and left side hood facing the car here, I've used the isopropyl alcohol wipe down. And on the right side, I've not used anything at all. It's just whatever oils left behind by M205 are on the paint. So we're going to see if we can notice any differences between each side. But as I rinse the paint down, I want to make a note of these polishing oils left behind on the paint. You know, when we use something like IPA or something like eraser to remove these oils, a lot of times we do that to make sure that we're fully removing the defects in the paint. And these polishing oils can possibly fill in or cover up many of the light swirling or hologramming left behind on the paint caused by the polishing process. And so we're constantly checking our work, and this is especially true for guys who are using the rotary polisher. And there's just certain paints that you just can't finish well with the rotary polisher or with a finishing polish. It just has a tendency to leave those holograms left behind in the paint. So we're constantly checking to make sure we're actually removing the defect when we go over the paint with isopropyl alcohol. But in my test, when I'm working with so many different waxes and sealants, I just want to make sure there's no issues with the product being able to bond properly to the paint. So to stay consistent, that's why I use a prepping product prior to applying my waxes and sealants. However, in many cases, and I'd say in most cases, you're not going to have any issues with the wax or sealant being able to bond, even if you did not remove those polishing oils. Now, definitely take note of the water behavior here. You can see that it is still a nice consistent water sheet line, and it looks like it matches the performance of definitely a lot of sealants out there. So how can we tell if we do have a sealant removed or if it's still on the paint? And this is where that first wash comes into play. So I'm going to get the hyper wash out, soap the car down, and show you guys the difference in the water behavior. Alright, so this is Meguiar's hyper wash at its recommended dilution ratio. And the water behavior here is the fundamental difference between paint that's protected and paint that does not have a wax or a sealant on the surface. So unprotected paint does not have a durable surface tension at all. And what surface tension is this is the properties of the surface that defines how aggressive the water behaves when it comes in contact with it. So with products like Sonax Brilliant Shine Detailer that give you that crazy tight water beading, this is leaving behind a higher surface tension on the paint. Compared to this water behavior we're seeing right here, this is a very low surface tension. And so this is why I do an extended water rinse. This is why I pull out the soap and give it a quick wash and rinse in my test videos. And that's just to gauge the surface tension durability in the short term. And the Hyperwash soap is also known to rinse away really easily from the paint. So the flat water behavior we're seeing here is not a result of any conditioners in Hyperwash. And one of the things I'm not sure about is why there's such a drastic difference between that first rinse after we polish the paint compared to this first wash with soap. What I do know is that if we did have a wax or a sealant on the surface, it's going to have a much more durable surface tension in the short term. And you can see on this side of the paint over here, when I did not use the isopropyl alcohol wipe down, I think the water behavior is just a little bit faster compared to the other side. And so it makes me think that these oils left behind are the reason why we're seeing a repellency after that first rinse. So even though when I'm checking with the light source I can see these residual oils being removed with the isopropyl alcohol, it's very possible that we're not fully removing all traces of them left behind. So the hyperwash just further helps dissolve these oils. So that's my guess of why we're seeing such a drastic change after that first wash. And if I continue to go over the paint with the hyperwash, we would see a matched water behavior on both sides of the paint. But now you guys have my baseline water result of unprotected paint. Definitely let me know if you're seeing different results on your car. And hopefully this was informative for you guys. I have a ridiculously large amount of products lined up for testing, so stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video.